Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video let's do the full review of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. And I've been actually testing this device now for almost 3 weeks, and in fact I've got multiple software OTA updates. And guys, this is the official Indian variant. That means it comes with the Exynos processor. And let me divide it between the pros and cons. What do I feel about this device? And again, guys, I would suggest you watch my unboxing video if you want to get a general overview about this device, because in this review I'll directly jump between the experience that I have noticed and divide it between the pros and cons. And first, let's start with the pros. And again, this is Samsung's flagship, not the Truth. Now we have even Ultra, but I would say this is the most sensible that they have right now. And this is the successor to the S10 Plus, and feels like the S10 Plus, I would say. But the big difference is, if you notice, the camera is a main focus on these new S20 series, and that's the same case even with this one. This one actually has a quad camera setup at the back. I'll talk about the camera later on. In fact, guys, I was working on a dedicated video regarding the camera performance. I shot it almost 75%, but that 25% of outdoor footage was there, but due to this coronavirus and lockdown, I couldn't shoot it. So I'll post a dedicated video regarding the camera review later on. But let's start with the pros and cons. And the first thing that I really liked about this device is, again, it's a Samsung phone, so the build quality is good. Now what they have done is, now if you notice the earlier Samsung series, the screen used to have a lot of more this edge. Here it's tapered down, so I feel this is a lot better. And also in terms of in-hand feel, which is an important thing, though this is a big device having a 6.7-inch screen and that 4500 milliamp hour battery, Samsung has done a great job in terms of in-hand feel. The weight balance has been done very well, so it simply does not feel that you're holding a very heavy phone or something like that. In a way, I initially thought it's having that 6.7-inch screen, it's massive, but again, as the bezels are very thin, it does not feel very heavy or very bulky. I got used to it within a day or two. It's a Samsung phone, so screen is an important part. This has their new dynamic AMOLED screen. It's a 6.7-inch screen. It's a Quad HD Plus screen, and as you can see, the screen quality is really good. Again, it's a Samsung device, so you have that. But now with this one, you have an option of going up to 120 Hertz. That option is there. If you really want to do that, you can do that. But again, it will consume up the battery life a little bit. I'll talk about that later. And again, this is the new Samsung UI that you are getting on this one, so you don't have to worry about it. And if you go to the display here, you can change the motion smoothness to 120 Hertz if you really want. But at 120 Hertz, it will be only at 1080p, not Quad HD. So that option is there. And this is the new Samsung UI. And as you can see, I'm using the gestures. And again, though it's having this Exynos SoC, it handles day-to-day tasks without any issues. I never noticed any lagginess or anything on this device. So in that area, you don't have to worry. Though it's having that Exynos processor, it handles everyday tasks without any issues. And this comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I would say the RAM management also has been done well on this one. I never faced any issues of RAM management or anything. The most of the recent apps that you expect to be there, as you can see, I was browsing stuff in the morning, all those things, YouTube will be there in memory. So RAM management has been done, and the One UI is good. You can have that I'm using the full screen, but the virtual buttons, if you want, you can have that option if you really want. But now let's talk about how's the call quality, earpiece and stuff, because I'm a person who still takes a lot of voice calls, and I'm happy to say here Samsung did a good job. The earpiece is over here, and the earpiece quality is actually really good. And even the speaker, it's actually having a dual speaker, that stereo speaker setup, and that's actually good. So in terms of call quality, it was good. Now coming to how's the signal reception, this is different from call quality. Here also I would say I was surprised. As you can see, I'm just going to get out of the Wi-Fi, and this is my area of that office that has very low signal with Airtel, and as you can see right now it's in that 4G. But here also in this office, I could take cellular calls and it did not disconnect. This is a big deal, guys, because very few phones can take calls here and don't get disconnected, or the other parties don't complain. With this one, I could take calls. So even in slightly lower network area, the network reception is actually good on this one. And of course it has that Wi-Fi calling, so that option is enabled, and of course VoLTE and all those things work. So in area of network reception, I would say they have done a good job of unlike some of the other phones that I've reviewed that have a problem with low network issue. Here it does not have that one. If we talk about the speakers, as I was telling, we have stereo speakers, and I would say it's adequately loud. Let me just go to my own channel and give you an idea. Let's just fire out, make it, maximize it, and just start this. Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, let's have a look at this new laptop that was released by Asus that's known as the ROG Zephyrus 14. And as you can see, it's adequately loud. I wouldn't say it's the loudest stereo speakers that I have heard. I feel the iPhone has slightly maximum volume and slightly more, but this is good enough. Most of the time I was keeping the volume level at about 85% or 90%, and it was adequately loud. And you do have that stereo separation, and again all those gimmicks like Dolby Atmos and all those things are there on this one. So in terms of that area, they have done a good job. In terms of basics of the phones that we feel like call quality, speaker, microphone, Samsung has done actually a good job. Now if we talk about the fingerprint scanner, like last year's flagship devices by Samsung, this one also has ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. And yes, I would say this has become slightly faster than the last generation, but I would say this is still not as fast as the in-display fingerprint scanners or anything. And in fact, I had to register it twice because when I registered only single finger, I would say the accuracy was just about 80%. But now I have registered it again once more, and now as you can see, it is a lot better. But again, I would say you have to get used to this. This is not as fast as in-display fingerprint scanner. It takes about half a second. Now if we talk about the build quality is actually good. It's Gorilla Glass both on the front and the back, and accidentally once this phone fell on a hard floor from about my desk, that is around 4 feet, and again I don't have any visible dings or cracks. I was so that way I would say it is okay. Yes, I know 4 feet is not a big one, but it fell on a marble floor which was hard, so I was scared, but luckily nothing happened to the device. Now if we talk about battery life, which is an important part, this one has a 4500 milliamp hour battery, and I'm actually using a third-party battery stats, that is AccuBattery Pro. And again, according to this one, if I just use the phone continuously, it will give me about 10 hours of SOT. Let me just adjust the brightness a little bit. But again, we don't use it like that. So I would say in terms of battery life, with my typical usage, I was charging it about once in about 1.5 days. This is with single SIM, guys. And I was getting screen on time of about roughly about 5.5 to about 6.5 hours. And if I compare it with the earlier generations of Galaxy S10 Plus, I would say this was giving me about 30 minutes of extra SOT, but again not a big difference, I would say. So battery life is okay. Even if you're a sort of a heavy user, it will last you for a typical day, but if you're sort of a heavy user, don't expect it to last for the next day. And guys, by the way, I was using this device with this always on display like this, so if you disable this, you might get better battery life. But now some of you will ask, was this with 120 Hertz or with the regular 60? This was with the regular 60 Hertz. I also did test with 120 Hertz, and if you go with the 120 Hertz, the battery life falls a little bit. I would say the screen on time might fall down anywhere about 30 to 45 minutes. So again, you have to be aware of that also. But the charging time is quick on this one. It comes default with that 25-watt fast charger, and it could charge almost about 90% in 1 hour. So it takes slightly more than 1 hour to completely charge. And again, the initial charge is actually pretty quick with that 25-watt charger. Now let's also talk about gaming. I didn't do a lot of gaming, but some of you do ask me, so I did install Call of Duty, and I did play Call of Duty on this one, and yes, it played fine without any issue even at the high graphics setting. But I would say after a couple of games, I noticed slight frame drops at times, and also the handset was heating a little bit. So I would say yes, it can play games, but I wouldn't suggest this device device if you are sort of a hardcore gamer. There are a lot of other devices at a much lower price point. If you're sort of a hardcore gamer, those might be better for you. Now let's also talk about the camera on this one. The camera is the main trump card of this device, I would say, compared to the earlier Samsung series. Here they have really concentrated on the camera. I won't get in depth regarding the camera because, as I've told you, I'm working on a dedicated video regarding the camera performance. But I would say we have the main cameras are the triple camera. The fourth camera is just the time of flight, that's depth. The main camera is a 12 megapixel, and as you can see, there are some very quick samples. It does actually a pretty good job. But the next camera is a 64 megapixel, and this is actually a hybrid zoom. They say that it can go up to 30x zoom, but I would say don't go with the 30x zoom. The results are bad. Up to about 10x, you get some decent results. Then we also have that ultra wide angle. So the camera performance is definitely improved if you're talking about the rear facing camera. And one thing that really surprised me in terms of video capture, yes, it can do up to 8K video capture. I don't know why you'll do it, but yes, it can record up to 8K if you really want. But if you're recording regular stuff, even in 4K, we have a super steady option in video that stabilizes the video very well. In fact, I was surprised with the stabilization. I thought it would be a gimmick, but the video stabilization is really good. And also the audio pickup that it has while you're shooting the video is one of the best that I've seen. I was recording a video, slight noisy stuff was there, but then also it captured my audio very, very clearly. So I'm impressed with the video and the audio microphone pickup, what it has. And now if we talk about the front facing camera, I'll talk about that. It's a 10 megapixel. Let's talk about that. And I would say, let's talk about that in the cons. So now let's talk about some of the cons that I have noticed on this one. Let me just bring the cons page. And the first biggest con I would say is that in India we are getting the Exynos variant of this one, not the Snapdragon 865. I won't go in depth regarding the differences between that because Tom from Tech Chap has already made a dedicated video between these two variants, the Exynos and the Snapdragon. Again, watch that for more info. And I would say the Snapdragon one is more superior. If you're sort of a heavy gamer, that might be better. Also in terms of battery life, that the Snapdragon one gives about 10% better battery life and also heats up a little bit less. I won't go in depth of regarding that. Again, watch his video. But I would say Samsung should have provided the Snapdragon variant even for us here in India, because the pricing of the device is not that cheap in India, and we know that the Snapdragon variant is a better SoC compared to the one that is being used right now. So that is something that I do not like. When they are charging that high premium, they should have just gone with the Snapdragon 865 variant for the entire worldwide region. The Snapdragon variant is only available in some parts of China, I believe, and in US. Other parts, mostly Asia and even Europe, are getting the Exynos variant, and sadly in India officially we are just getting this Exynos variant. Now the second thing is that regarding the front facing camera, it's a punch hole notch that we are having over here that we have. And it's a 10 megapixel shooter. Don't get me wrong, I'm not about megapixel wars or something, but I felt that the front facing camera sharpness was simply not that great, and it still had that over processing, makes your skin smooth or soft. And in fact, I was surprised because many of the Samsung mid-range smartphones, like if I recall, the Samsung Galaxy A71 or even some of the other mid-range Samsung smartphones come with a higher megapixel front facing camera, and the results on those are much better. So I'm surprised about that. In fact, looks like Samsung is trying to push their Ultra, because the Ultra definitely has a much better front facing camera. So I was surprised because these days many people use their smartphones for selfie. So if selfie is the highest concern for you, I won't say it's bad, but again, I won't say this is among the best in terms for selfies. Now, another thing, the con that I have is in India, Samsung is strangely selling only the 128GB storage variant of this device. It would have been great, it would have a dedicated micro SD card slot, but again, it just has a hybrid slot. And I know many people use both the SIMs, so you can't put a micro SD card. And 128GB storage is not bad, it's okay for most users, I would say. But now this smartphone has options like 8K video and stuff. And if you're going to use some of those features, the video taking capabilities are very good. You can quickly fill up the storage, and sadly we don't have any higher variant. So I'm also surprised regarding that move. Regarding the usage, in terms of daily usage, I did not have a problem. Some of you were asking me about heating and stuff. In regular day-to-day usage, I did not face any heating issues. But again, if you use the camera extensively, more than about 7-8 minutes continuously, I would say, or record that 4K video continuously, then definitely the back area tends to get a little bit warm, and you might say that it is heating. It's not heating, but it's just getting warm. And also, while gaming continuously, after about 1 or 2 sessions of games, I did feel that the handset tends to get a bit warm. So that is something that I have noticed, but not in regular usage. No, I did not face any heating issues. And lastly, I'm annoyed that with this S20 series now, they have removed the 3.5mm headphone jack. That was something that was there on Samsung flagships, but sadly that is missing. I did test it with a couple of Bluetooth headsets and even the Samsung Buds Plus, and they work. The connectivity is good, but I still feel saddened that they have removed the 3.5mm headphone jack. So as you can see, guys, it's a good smartphone from Samsung, but again, I wish they used the Snapdragon 865 SoC even for the Indian variant. Sadly, we are getting the Exynos variant. So again, if you're sort of a heavy gamer, I would say I would not recommend you this phone. But again, it gets many of the other things right. For example, the battery life is actually pretty decent, and also the network connectivity was actually good. In fact, I would say much better than many of the phones in terms of cellular reception in areas where signal was actually not that great. So guys, that was my review of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. What do you guys think about the same? Do let me know in the comment section below. And again, guys, stay tuned to my channel and subscribe because I will be posting a dedicated video regarding the camera performance of this device when this lockdown gets lifted up. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video, and take care, guys.